I want you to understand something right from the start. I wasn't always this version of myself. The woman staring at her reflection in a darkened bedroom window at 3 a.m. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the dresser. That woman? She was a stranger to me once. But that night in November, standing in our bedroom in Boston while my husband prepared for dinner with his ex-girlfriend, I finally met her. And God, I wish I'd met her sooner. Emma, you're being dramatic again. Daniel's voice cut through the silence like it always did. Smooth, controlled, with just enough condescension to make me question everything I felt. He was adjusting his tie in the mirror, the navy blue one I'd bought him for our 5th anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. Dramatic? My voice came out smaller than I intended. It always did with him. You're having dinner with Rebecca. At Menton. The restaurant where you proposed to me. He sighed. That particular sigh that made me feel like a child interrupting important adult conversation. It's a business dinner, Emma. Rebecca's firm is collaborating with ours on the waterfront project. What do you want me to do? Sabotage a multi-million-dollar deal because my wife can't handle her insecurities? There it was, that word. Insecurities. He wielded it like a weapon, and I'd let him for 6 years. I watched him in the mirror, really watched him. Daniel Harris was objectively handsome, everyone said so. Sharp jawline, steel gray eyes, dark hair always perfectly styled. He wore success like cologne, expensive and impossible to ignore. When we'd met at a gallery opening in Cambridge 7 years ago, I thought I'd found someone who saw me. Really saw me. The translator with dreams bigger than her studio apartment. The woman who spoke 4 languages and wanted to work for international publishers in Paris. He told me I was brilliant that night, that my passion for words was intoxicating. 6 months later, when the offer came from Rousseau Publishing in Paris, the opportunity I'd worked toward my entire adult life, he'd held me while I cried happy tears. Then, slowly, carefully, he'd planted the seeds. Paris is so far, Emma. What about us? Long distance rarely works. You know that. I'm building my career here. I can't just leave. Don't you think we should prioritize our relationship? And the one that sealed it. If you really loved me, you'd choose us. I chose us. I chose him. I turned down Rousseau Publishing and took freelance translation work from our apartment in Beacon Hill. Work that paid a fraction of what I could have earned. Work that made me feel like I was translating someone else's dreams while mine gathered dust. You know what, Daniel? I found my voice, though it shook. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am insecure. But do you know why? Because for 6 years, you've made me feel like everything I feel is wrong, like wanting basic respect is asking too much. He turned from the mirror, and for a moment, just a fleeting second, I saw something flicker across his face. Annoyance, maybe. Or calculation. Here we go. The victim routine. I gave up Paris for you. Nobody forced you to do anything, Emma. You made a choice. Stop holding it over my head like I owe you something. He grabbed his wallet from the nightstand. And frankly, this is exactly why Rebecca and I get along so well. She understands ambition. She doesn't make her career decisions based on a relationship. The words hit me like ice water. Not because they were cruel. I'd grown used to his cruelty, the way you grow used to chronic pain. But because of what they revealed. He admired Rebecca. He respected her in a way he'd never respected me. What time will you be home? I asked, hating how defeated I sounded. Don't wait up. He kissed my forehead, a gesture so automatic it felt like mockery. Oh, and Mom called earlier. She wants us for dinner Sunday. Try to be pleasant this time, okay? Last week you barely said 2 words. He left, and the apartment fell into that familiar, suffocating silence. The kind that makes you aware of your own breathing, your own heartbeat, your own insignificance. I walked to the living room, poured myself a glass of wine I wouldn't drink, and sat on the cream-colored sofa Daniel had chosen. Everything in this apartment was his choice. The modern furniture that felt cold and impersonal, the abstract art that meant nothing to me. Even the books on the shelf were curated for appearance, leather-bound classics neither of us had read. Where were my things? The colorful throws my mother had sent from her travels? The vintage typewriter I'd collected in college? The photographs of Claire and me in Chicago, laughing until we couldn't breathe? They were in boxes. In the storage unit Daniel had rented when we'd moved in together. "Let's create a cohesive aesthetic," he'd said. I'd agreed because that's what I did. I agreed. My phone buzzed. Claire, girl, please tell me you're not sitting home alone while he's out with Rebecca." Me, how did you know? Claire, because I know Daniel, and I know you. Want me to come over? I can be there in an hour. Claire, we can watch terrible reality TV and eat our weight in Thai food. I smiled despite everything. Claire Morrison had been my best friend since college, the only person who'd told me the truth about Daniel from the beginning. "He's charming, Em, but there's something off," she'd said after meeting him. "Like he's performing all the time, and the way he talks over you? Red flag." I'd defended him, of course, made excuses. Claire had backed off, but I knew she was watching, waiting for me to see what she'd seen all along. Me. Rain check? I'm okay. Just tired. Claire, you're not okay, but I'll give you space. Call me if you need me. Anytime. I set the phone down and found myself walking to the spare bedroom, the room Daniel used as a home office, filled with his law books and expensive scotch. I wasn't sure what I was looking for until I saw it. The storage closet we never opened. Inside were my boxes. 7 years of my life, packed away like evidence of a crime. I pulled one down, dust coating my fingers. Inside were notebooks from my translation courses at Boston University, a folder of rejection letters from before Rousseau, my passport, unused since our honeymoon in Italy 5 years ago, a trip where Daniel had spent most of the time on work calls. And then, at the bottom, I found it. The contract from Rousseau Publishing, dated March 15th, 2018, 7 years ago. I sat on the floor and read it. Really read it for the first time since I'd shoved it in this box too painful to look at. They'd wanted me to translate a series of contemporary French novels into English, to work with authors I admired, to live in Paris and build the career I'd dreamed of since I was 16, reading Camus in my bedroom in Portland, feeling like the words were written directly to my soul. "We believe you have a rare gift for capturing not just language but voice and spirit. We would be honored to have you join our team." I'd been 27, so certain that love and sacrifice were the same thing, that proving my commitment to Daniel meant abandoning myself. Underneath the contract was a photograph. Me at my college graduation, standing between Claire and my linguistics professor, Dr. Martin. I was beaming, holding my diploma, wearing a dress the color of sunflowers. My eyes were bright, alive. I didn't recognize her. When had I stopped being her? When had the light gone out? I heard Daniel's words again, playing on a loop. "If you can't handle seeing me have dinner with my ex, that's your problem." Not our problem. Not something we'd navigate together. My problem. Mine to fix, mine to swallow, mine to pretend didn't exist. I thought about Margaret, Daniel's mother, the way she'd looked at me last Sunday at their house in Newton, her lips pursed in that expression of perpetual disapproval. "Emma, dear, have you thought about doing something with your appearance? Daniel works with so many polished women. You want to make an effort, don't you?" I'd worn a dress, heels, makeup, but it was never enough for Margaret Harris. I wasn't enough, not successful enough, not sophisticated enough, not worthy of her precious son. And Daniel had said nothing, just squeezed my hand under the table in what I'd interpreted as support, but now recognized as warning. "Don't make a scene. Don't embarrass me. I pulled out my phone, and before I could stop myself, Googled Rebecca Stone. She was stunning. Of course she was. 36, head architect at Morrison & Associates, featured in Boston Magazine's 40 Under 40. In every photo, she looked confident, powerful, complete. She didn't look like someone who'd shrunk herself to fit into someone else's life. I imagined them at Menton right now. Daniel laughing at her jokes, leaning in, the way he used to lean in with me. Rebecca mentioning the waterfront project, but their conversation drifting to memories. Remember when we were together? Remember how good we were? Maybe they'd order the tasting menu. Maybe he'd touch her hand across the table. Maybe he'd come home smelling like her perfume and lie about it. Or maybe he wouldn't even bother lying anymore. The apartment suddenly felt like a tomb. Beautiful, expensive, suffocating. I stood up, still holding the contract, and walked to the window. Boston sprawled before me, lights twinkling in the November darkness. Somewhere out there, people were living full lives, taking risks, chasing dreams, choosing themselves. My phone buzzed again. Not Claire this time. Daniel. Dinner running late. Lots to discuss with Rebecca. Don't wait up. No explanation, no apology, just an order. I stared at the message for a long time, then at the contract in my hand, then at my reflection in the window. This woman I'd become. Quiet, accommodating, invisible. And something inside me cracked. Not broke, not yet, but cracked enough that light started seeping through. I opened my laptop and typed a name I hadn't Googled in 7 years. Thomas Dubois. He was still at Rousseau Publishing, still the senior editor who'd believed in me when I was nobody. His professional photo showed an older man now, silver hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. His bio mentioned he was leading a new initiative, translating emerging American voices into French. My hands hovered over the keyboard. What was I doing? It had been 7 years. He'd probably forgotten I existed. And even if he hadn't, what could I possibly say? Dear Thomas, remember me? The translator who turned down your offer to be someone's unpaid emotional support? I'm available now if the position's still open. Also, my life is a beautiful disaster, and I'm currently falling apart in a spare bedroom at 3 a.m. Interested? I closed the laptop. This was insane. I was tired, emotional, not thinking clearly. In the morning, everything would feel different. Daniel would come home, maybe even apologize. We'd work through this like we'd worked through everything else. I'd swallow my hurt, and we'd continue. Except I didn't want to anymore. The thought came so clearly, so certainly, that it scared me. I picked up the photograph again. That girl in the sunflower dress, so full of hope and possibility. She'd trusted that sacrifice meant love, that dimming her light would make someone else shine brighter. She'd been wrong. I grabbed my phone and texted Claire. Me. Can I ask you something honest? Claire. Always. Me. When did you know? About Daniel and me. When did you know it was wrong? The 3 dots appeared immediately, then stopped, then appeared again. Finally, her response came through. Claire, the first time I saw you apologize for being excited about something. You got that translation job for the medical journal, remember? You were so happy. And Daniel said, "That's nice, Em, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's just a journal." And you immediately shut down, made yourself smaller. I knew then. Claire, you've been making yourself smaller ever since. I read her words 3 times, and with each reading, the crack inside me widened. She was right. God, she was right. It was 4:17 a.m. when I heard Daniel's key in the lock. I was still in the spare room, surrounded by boxes of my former life, the contract on my lap. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. He smelled like wine and perfume that wasn't mine. "You're still up?" He sounded annoyed, not concerned. "How was dinner?" "Fine. Productive." He glanced at the boxes. "What are you doing in here?" "Remembering who I used to be." He laughed, actually laughed. "Emma, it's 4 a.m. Can we not do the melodramatic thing right now? I'm exhausted." "Did you sleep with her?" The question surprised us both. I never asked direct questions, never confronted, never demanded truth. His face hardened. "Seriously? This again? I told you it was business. You smell like her perfume. You were gone for 6 hours. For a business dinner. Rebecca is affectionate. She's European. She hugs people. Jesus Christ, Emma, do you hear yourself? You sound paranoid." There it was. Gaslighting so smooth it almost worked. Almost made me doubt what I knew. "I gave up everything for you," I said quietly. "Nobody asked you to. That was your choice, your sacrifice. Don't put that on me." "You asked me to. You said if I really loved you." I said a lot of things 7 years ago. We were young. Things change. People change. Maybe it's time you stopped living in the past and accepted reality. "What reality is that, Daniel?" He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And I saw the truth in his eyes. Contempt. He didn't love me. Maybe he never had. I was convenient. Safe. Someone who wouldn't challenge him. Wouldn't outshine him. Wouldn't leave. "The reality," he said slowly, "is that you're not the woman I thought you'd become. You're stuck. Emma, you've been stuck for years, and honestly, it's exhausting." The words should have destroyed me. A year ago they would have, but something had shifted in the last few hours. That crack had widened into something else, not breaking, opening. "You're right," I said. He blinked, surprised. "What?" "I am stuck. I've been stuck since the day I chose you over myself. Since the day I decided my dreams mattered less than your comfort. Emma, I'm done, Daniel." "Done with what? This conversation?" "Because I'm definitely done. Done shrinking. Done apologizing for existing. Done being the version of myself that fits into your life." He stared at me, and I watched the calculation happening behind his eyes. He was trying to figure out if I was serious, if this was a real threat, or just another emotional outburst he could manipulate away. "You're upset," he said, his voice shifting to that patronizing gentleness he used when he wanted to make me feel crazy. "You're tired. Let's talk about this tomorrow when you're thinking clearly." I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years. I stood up, still holding the contract, and walked past him toward our bedroom. He followed, confusion and irritation warring on his face. "What are you doing?" I pulled my suitcase from the closet. Started placing clothes inside, not everything, just enough. "Emma, stop. You're being ridiculous." Am I? Or am I finally being honest? "Where are you even going to go? To Claire's? She'll just fill your head with more nonsense about how terrible I am." "Claire's been telling me the truth. I just wasn't ready to hear it." He grabbed my arm, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop me. "We need to talk about this. Rationally. Like adults." I looked down at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. "Take your hand off me." Something in my voice must have surprised him because he let go immediately. "You want to talk rationally?" I continued. "Fine. Here's rationale. I've spent 6 years making myself smaller so you could feel bigger. I turned down my dream job. I gave up friendships because they weren't sophisticated enough for your image. I let your mother treat me like I'm not good enough. I pretended not to notice when you came home late, when you were distant, when you made me feel like my feelings were inconvenient. I never. You did. You do. Constantly. And I let you because somewhere along the way I started believing I deserved it. That I wasn't enough. That I needed to earn your love by erasing myself. Tears were streaming down my face now, but my voice was steady, strong. But tonight, looking at this contract, at pictures of who I used to be, I realized something. The problem isn't that I'm not enough. The problem is that I gave you everything, and you still wanted more. Wanted me to be less so you could be more. This is about Rebecca, isn't it? His voice turned cold. You're having a breakdown because I had dinner with my ex. That's what this is really about. No, Daniel. This is about me finally seeing what Claire saw 7 years ago. What I've been too afraid to see. You don't love me. You love what I gave up for you. You love that I made you the center of my universe, but you don't actually love me. The silence that followed was deafening. He didn't deny it. That was all the confirmation I needed. I zipped up my suitcase, grabbed my laptop bag, and walked toward the door. My heart was hammering, my hands shaking, but my feet kept moving. If you walk out that door, Daniel said behind me, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. Don't think you can just come back. I won't be waiting. I turned to look at him one last time. This man I'd rearranged my entire life for. This man who'd made me believe that love meant sacrifice, that devotion meant disappearing. Good, I said. Don't wait. I'm not coming back. I walked out of our bedroom, through the living room with its cold furniture and empty art, and out the front door. It was 5:03 a.m. The November air bit at my skin, but I barely felt it. I stood on the sidewalk with my suitcase, my laptop, and the Rousseau contract still clutched in my hand. I had nowhere to go. No plan. No certainty about what came next. But for the first time in 6 years, I felt like I could breathe. My phone buzzed. Claire, I'm awake. Where are you? I laughed, a sound somewhere between a sob and relief. Me. Outside my apartment building, with a suitcase and a 7-year-old contract. I think I just blew up my life. Claire, send me your location. I'm coming to get you. Claire. And Emma. It's about damn time. I sat on my suitcase on that cold Boston sidewalk, watching the city wake up around me. In a few hours, the sun would rise. People would start their days. The world would continue spinning. And somewhere in Paris, Thomas Dubois would arrive at his office at Rousseau Publishing, probably never imagining that the translator who'd turned him down 7 years ago was about to send him an email that would change everything. I opened my laptop, balanced it on my knees, and started typing. Dear Thomas. Claire's apartment in Cambridge smelled like coffee and old books, the exact opposite of the sterile perfection I'd left behind. When she'd picked me up from that sidewalk at dawn, she hadn't asked questions, just pulled me into a hug so tight I finally let myself cry. Now, watching her make breakfast in her worn Northwestern hoodie, I realized how much I'd missed this version of life. Comfortable, real, human. Eat, she said, sliding scrambled eggs toward me. You look like you haven't had a real meal in weeks. She wasn't wrong. Daniel preferred restaurants where he could be seen, where meals were performances. I sent the email, I said quietly. Claire stopped mid-bite. To Thomas? At Rousseau? I nodded, my stomach twisting. At 5:47 this morning. I read it aloud from my phone. Dear Thomas, 7 years ago, you offered me an opportunity that would have changed my life. I turned it down for reasons I thought were love but have come to understand were fear. I don't know if you remember me, or if there's any possibility of working together now, but I'm writing to tell you that I'm ready. Whatever that means, wherever it leads, I'm finally ready. Respectfully, Emma Harris. That's beautiful, Claire said, her eyes shining. It's pathetic. It's been 7 years. It's honest. You did the hardest part. You left. My phone buzzed. My sister, Sarah. Sarah. Daniel just called me, said you had a breakdown and left in the middle of the night. What's going on? Of course he did. Already controlling the narrative, painting me as unstable. Sarah. He's really worried about you, Em. He said you've been stressed and not yourself. I typed back with trembling fingers. Me. I'm safe. I'm with Claire. And I didn't have a breakdown. I finally had a breakthrough. Sarah. Claire? Really? She's never liked Daniel. You know she's going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. The response stung. Sarah lived in Seattle with her perfect husband and 2 kids. What did she know about my marriage? Me. Claire's been honest with me from the beginning. That's exactly what I need right now. Sarah. Marriage is hard, Emma. You don't just give up when things get difficult. You fight for it. Fight for it. As if I hadn't been fighting for 6 years. Me. I did fight. I fought so hard I forgot who I was fighting for. I silenced my phone. She doesn't get it, Claire said gently. From the outside, Daniel's perfect. People like Sarah can't see the cage when it's gilded. I need to go back, I said suddenly. To the apartment, get my things. Not alone. If Daniel's there, you need a witness. An hour later, we stood outside my building. The door opened. He hadn't changed the locks yet. The apartment was empty, silent. We moved quickly. Claire grabbed boxes while I gathered everything I'd packed away to make room for Daniel's aesthetic. My photographs, my books, my grandmother's typewriter. Em, you need to see this. Claire stood at Daniel's desk, his laptop open. I wasn't snooping. The screen was already on. Email correspondence between Daniel and Rebecca, going back months. Plans to meet. Complaints about me. Emma's been so clingy lately. I can barely breathe. She doesn't understand ambition the way you do. Last night was incredible. I've missed this. Missed us. August. The messages went back to August. 4 months of lies. I'm going to be sick, I whispered. Claire closed the laptop. No, you're going to be angry. You're going to use this. Use it how? Divorce proceedings. Evidence of infidelity. I don't want his money. I just want out. Clean, fast. My phone rang. Daniel. I stared at it. Claire raised an eyebrow. Answer it. See what lie he's crafted today. Where are you? His voice was tight, controlled. Getting my things. From our apartment? Without telling me? It stopped being our apartment when you started planning a future with Rebecca. Silence. Then, you went through my computer. It was open, and I'm done pretending I don't know what I know. We need to talk, in person. There's nothing to talk about. I'll have a lawyer contact you about the divorce. Divorce? He laughed coldly. Emma, you're upset. You found some emails out of context and you're spiraling. Stop. Stop gaslighting me. I read the messages. All of them. August through November. 4 months. It's complicated. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand that kind of cruelty. And I don't want to. If you do this, you'll regret it. You have no job, no money, nowhere to go. You think you can just start over? You're 34 years old, Emma. The world isn't kind to women who throw away stability for some fantasy. I'd rather have nothing and be free than have everything and be your prisoner. I hung up, hands shaking. Holy hell, Claire breathed. You're incredible. I'm terrified. You can be both. My phone buzzed. An email notification. From Thomas Dubois. Dear Emma, I remember you very well. Your translation of Camus was one of the finest I've ever reviewed, full of nuance and soul. I'm intrigued by your message. We're launching a new project, translating contemporary American literature into French. If you're serious about this, I'd like to discuss it further. Are you available for a video call Monday morning? 9 a.m. Paris time? Regards, Thomas. I read it 3 times, then showed Claire. She squealed, "Emma, he remembers you. He has a project." "It's just a call." "It means possibility. It means you made the right choice." That night, lying on Claire's air mattress surrounded by boxes, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed everything. Daniel's face, the emails, Sarah's disappointment. At 2 a.m., I opened my laptop and started translating. Just a short story I'd found online, but as I worked, something loosened in my chest. This was who I was. I worked until sunrise. When Claire brought coffee, I'd completed the entire piece. "You're glowing," she said. "I'm exhausted." "No, you look alive." My phone buzzed. An email from a law firm. "Mrs. Harris, we represent Daniel Harris in the matter of your separation. Please be advised that Mr. Harris is prepared to contest any divorce proceedings on the grounds of abandonment. We strongly suggest you retain counsel before this matter becomes more contentious." He was threatening me. Claire read it. "He's scared. Scared you're serious. Scared he's losing control. What do I do?" "You get your own lawyer." She was already typing. "I know someone, Jessica Chen. She handles difficult divorces." By noon, I had a consultation scheduled for Monday afternoon, right after my video call with Thomas. Sunday arrived with a text from Margaret. "Margaret, family dinner tonight, 6 p.m. I expect you to be there. Whatever nonsense you and Daniel are going through, we handle it as a family." I imagined that dining room. Margaret at the head of the table, Daniel beside her. The judgment thick as gravy. Me, I won't be attending. Daniel and I are separated. Margaret, how dare you? After everything we've done for you, you're making a terrible mistake. You'll end up alone, broke and full of regret. Women like you always do. I blocked her number. Then I called my mom. "Emma?" Worry filled her voice. "Sarah told me what happened. Sweetheart, are you okay?" I broke down. Told her everything. Paris, Daniel, Rebecca, the years of feeling small. She listened without interrupting. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I didn't realize you were disappearing." "I didn't realize either. Not until it was almost too late. Your father would be proud of you, for leaving, for choosing yourself. I have a job interview tomorrow, in Paris." "Emma, that's wonderful." After we hung up, I felt lighter. Monday morning, 3 a.m. I sat in front of my laptop for the video call with Thomas. He appeared at exactly 3 hours, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Emma, it's good to see you again." "Thank you for taking the time, Thomas." "Tell me what's changed. Why now?" I told him. Not everything, but enough. That I'd made choices based on fear. That I'd spent years convincing myself I didn't deserve opportunities. That I was ready to remember who I was. He listened intently. "You know what I remember about you, Emma? Your translation of The Stranger. You didn't just get the words right, you got the soul right. That's rare." My eyes stung. "The project I mentioned requires you to be in Paris, at least for the first year. The contract is generous but demanding. I'll be honest, we have other candidates, but none of them showed me they understand what it means to lose yourself and fight to come back. What's the next step? I'd like you to complete a sample translation. Take a week, show me what you can do. And Emma, trust the translator who impressed me 7 years ago. She knew what she was doing." The call ended. I sat in the dim light, staring at my reflection. This was real. At 1 p.m., I met Jessica Chen, sharp, no nonsense. "Tell me everything," she said. I did. The affair, the gaslighting, the financial control. She took notes. "Massachusetts is no fault, so the affair doesn't matter as much legally. But financial control does. That's economic abuse. I just want out. I understand, but you need to protect yourself. You gave up career opportunities. That has monetary value. How long will it take? If Daniel contests, 6 months to a year. If he agrees to mediation, maybe 3. 3 months minimum of being legally tied to him. Do it, I said. I want to be free. That evening, Thomas emailed the sample chapter, a novel called The Weight of Water, about a Vietnamese-American woman navigating identity. I opened the first page. My mother taught me to carry water on my head like her mother taught her. Not literal water, but the weight of expectations, of history, of being neither here nor there. The words hit me like recognition. I could translate this. I wanted to translate this. I worked through the night, through the next day, barely sleeping. Wednesday morning, 72 hours after Thomas sent the chapter, I sent back my translation. Then collapsed into bed. I woke to 17 missed calls and 1 voicemail from Daniel's lawyer. Mrs. Harris, my client is prepared to make this as difficult as possible. We have evidence of your mental instability, your abandonment of the marital home, and your theft of property. Theft of property. He meant my books, my life. I forwarded it to Jessica. She called back immediately. This is a scare tactic. They have nothing. Don't let them intimidate you. That afternoon, Thomas emailed. Subject line, exceptional work. Emma, I've reviewed your translation and I'm genuinely moved. You didn't just translate the words, you translated the experience. I'm prepared to offer you the position, pending a formal interview with our team next week. Can you come to Paris? We'll cover all expenses. Warmly, Thomas, I screamed. Claire came running. What happened? He offered me the job. She grabbed me, jumping. You're going to Paris. I'm going to Paris, I repeated. That night, Daniel texted. Daniel, I know about Paris, about the interview. You really think running away will fix your problems? You're going to fail, Emma. You're going to realize you need me, and I won't be waiting. I stared at the message, then typed back slowly. Me. You're right about one thing. You won't be waiting, because I don't need you to. I never did. I just needed to remember that. I blocked his number, blocked Margaret's, blocked everyone who'd made me feel small. And I booked my flight to Paris. The week before, Paris passed in a blur of lawyer meetings and sleepless nights. Jessica filed the divorce papers Thursday. Daniel was served Friday afternoon at work, surrounded by colleagues. He called 17 times in an hour. I didn't listen to a single voicemail. Saturday morning, 5 days before my flight, Sarah showed up at Claire's apartment unannounced. We need to talk, she said, arms crossed. We sat at the kitchen table, coffee between us like a peace offering neither wanted. I talked to Daniel, Sarah began. He's devastated. He told me you're throwing away 7 years over one mistake. One mistake? Sarah, he had an affair for 4 months. That's not a mistake. That's a choice he made every single day. People make mistakes when they're unhappy. Maybe if you'd paid more attention. Stop. Don't blame me for his choices. I gave up everything for him. And it still wasn't enough. He didn't force you to turn down Paris. No, he just made me feel like choosing myself meant I didn't love him enough. I set my coffee down. Tell me, when was the last time you saw me truly happy? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her silence was answer enough. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm just asking you to trust that I know my own life better than Daniel's version of it. Mom's worried sick. I'll call Mom, but I need you to hear me. I spent 6 years making myself smaller. I'm not doing that anymore. Not for him, not for you. She stood, grabbing her purse. Fine, run away to Paris, but when it gets hard, don't come crying to me. I won't, because I've learned the people who truly love you don't make you beg for their support. She left without another word. That afternoon, I met Dr. Helen Carter, the therapist Claire recommended. "Tell me why you're here," she said gently. I told her everything. Daniel, the gaslighting, Margaret's cruelty, sacrificing Paris and wondering if running away was just another mistake. "What you're describing is emotional manipulation and control," Dr. Carter said. "That's abuse." But he never hit me. Abuse isn't just physical. Emotional abuse is more insidious because there are no visible scars. You question your own mind, your worth. You become convinced you're the problem. I still feel like I'm overreacting. Let me ask you something. If your best friend described your marriage, what would you tell her? I thought about it. I'd tell her to leave. Exactly. We're kinder to others than ourselves. I'm terrified of Paris. What if Daniel's right and I fail? What if you succeed? What if you're exactly as talented as you were 7 years ago, and now you're brave enough to believe it? Monday arrived, 3 days before Paris. 3 days. Daniel requested a meeting. Jessica advised against it, but I agreed, in her office, with her present. He arrived in the navy suit I used to love, looking tired. "Emma." He said my name like a prayer or accusation. "Daniel." "I don't want this," he said, gesturing at the divorce papers. "We can work through this. Therapy, whatever you need. You made a choice for 4 months. You chose to lie every day. That's not a mistake. That's who you are. I was unhappy. You were distant. The work you convinced me to do instead of taking a real position, you didn't want me to outshine you." His jaw tightened. "That's not fair. None of this is fair. But I'm done pretending. If you go to Paris, you'll have nothing. You'll be alone. I speak French fluently. I'll be working for one of the most prestigious publishers in Europe, and I'd rather be alone and free than suffocated. You're being selfish. Too immature to handle adversity." Jessica touched my arm, but I was calm. "You built a life, and I was a supporting character. The wife who didn't ask questions, who made you look good and stayed quiet when your mother insulted her." "My mother was trying to help. Your mother treated me like I wasn't good enough, and you let her because you agreed." Silence. "I want a clean divorce. No alimony. I just want out." "You're walking away with nothing?" "No. I'm walking away with myself. That's everything." His face hardened. "Fine. But don't come crawling back when Paris doesn't work out." "I won't. Your opinion of me never mattered. Only mine does." I walked out without looking back. Tuesday. Claire threw me a small gathering. My mom flew in from Portland. She pulled me aside, tears in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Your father would be too." She handed me Dad's old compass. He always said this helped him find his way home. But home isn't a place, Emma. It's wherever you're true to yourself. Wednesday, the day before Paris. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Emma, it's Margaret." "How did you get this number?" "I need you to understand something. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Daniel is a good man. You will never do better." "Maybe not, but I'll do better for myself." "You're selfish, ungrateful. Your approval was never worth what it cost me." I hung up, blocked the number. That night at 2 a.m., I wrote an email I'd never send. "Dear Dad, tomorrow I'm getting on a plane to Paris. I'm terrified, but I'm also more myself than I've been in years. I hope you're proud. I love you. Always, Emma." Thursday, 6 a.m. Claire drove me to the airport in silence. At the gate, she hugged me tight. "You're going to be amazing. I'm going to miss you. I'm a flight away. Go, before I chain you here." Through security. At the gate. My phone buzzed. Daniel. You're really throwing away everything for a fantasy." I deleted it. Deleted his contact. Deleted every trace. Then I saw Thomas's email. "Emma, the team is excited to meet you. We've arranged an apartment in the Marais. Welcome to your new life." The attendant called for boarding. I grabbed my bags and walked toward the gate. Behind me was Boston. Daniel. Margaret. 7 years of being small. Ahead was Paris. The life I'd been too afraid to choose. I stepped onto the plane, found my seat by the window and looked out at the airport, at Boston beyond it. Somewhere in that city, Daniel was telling people I'd abandoned him. Margaret was planning her next manipulation. Sarah was shaking her head. Let them. Their story of me had nothing to do with my truth. The engines roared. We lifted off. I pressed my forehead against the window and watched Boston shrink below me, and I felt it. That crack that had started 2 weeks ago finally broke open completely. Not breaking apart, breaking free. I pulled out my laptop and started translating a poem, just for myself. The words flowed like breathing, like coming home. Halfway across the Atlantic, I checked my email. From Jessica. Divorce papers signed. You're free. From Mom. Fly safe. I love you. From Claire. Already miss you. Go be brilliant. 7 hours later, we descended into Paris. The immigration officer stamped my passport. Welcome to France. Thomas met me at arrivals, holding a sign with my name. How was your flight? Terrifying. Perfect. He drove me to the Marais. 4th floor, no elevator. The apartment was tiny but charming. Exposed beams, tall windows, shelves waiting for books. It's perfect, I said. After he left, I stood in the middle of my new apartment. I was in Paris. I had the job I'd dreamed about. I was divorced, single, starting over at 34. I was terrified and more alive than I'd felt in years. Me to Claire. I made it. Claire, how does it feel? Me, like I can finally breathe. I unpacked slowly, arranged my books, placed my grandmother's typewriter by the window. I found that old Rousseau contract from 7 years ago and tucked it away in a drawer. I didn't need it anymore. That story was over. This was the new one, and I was writing it myself. That evening, I walked through the Marais as the sun set. Nobody knew me here. Nobody knew I was Daniel's ex-wife or Margaret's disappointment. I was just Emma, a translator, a woman choosing herself. I found a bistro, ordered wine and steak frites in French. The waiter responded in rapid French, not tourist French, but real French. He thought I belonged. Maybe I did. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown. Hi, Emma. This is Rebecca. I needed to reach out. Daniel told me you two were separated, that you'd agreed to see other people. I didn't know he was manipulating both of us. I'm sorry. I stared at the message. Me. Thank you for telling me. I don't blame you. He's good at making people believe what he wants. I hope you find someone better. I blocked the number. Not from anger, from closure. I finished my wine as Paris turned purple and gold, watched the city lights come on like stars. Tomorrow I'd start work. But tonight, I was just here, present, whole. Claire sent a photo, her, toasting the camera in Boston. Claire, to new beginnings, to brave women, to my best friend who finally remembered she was worth fighting for. I raised my glass to my phone. Me, to choosing yourself. Even when it's terrifying. Especially then. I walked back to my apartment through streets I'd soon know by heart. At my door, I paused and looked back. This moment felt important. The last moment of before, the first moment of after. I thought about Daniel, waiting for me to fail. I thought about Margaret, convinced I'd made the biggest mistake. I thought about everyone who'd made me feel like I was asking for too much. And I smiled. They were wrong. All of them. I unlocked my door and walked into my new life. 6 months later, I sat at a cafe in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, reviewing page proofs. My French had improved. My confidence had grown. I'd made friends, translators, writers, People who understood that words were magic. My phone buzzed. Daniel, the first message in 6 months. Daniel, I heard your translation was nominated for an award. Congratulations. I always knew you were talented. Maybe we could talk sometime. I read it twice. Felt nothing. I deleted it and went back to my work. Because the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming so completely yourself that their opinion stops mattering entirely. I finished my edits, paid for my coffee, and walked home through my city. My beautiful, imperfect chosen life. And I'd never been happier.